Yes, we have terrorists in this country, and I'll tell you who they are. The first group of terrorists is those people who stole 100 billion from our ports. The second group of terrorists is those people who stole 104 billion through share. The third group of terrorists is those people who stole 15 billion through e-citizen. We have our eyes and guns on the wrong set of terrorists. We need to change direction and turn these guns and bullets and ammunition that we have on our young people on the right terrorists.
Hey there, and welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa, another not so exciting week, but it's been a week where Kenyans have really complained and taken against the judiciary and the powers that be against charging Kenyans for crimes that essentially do not count. So, with me today to go around this is a lawyer who is soon to be an advocate, I understand, none other than Fanya Mambo himself. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. A very good morning. I usually say, most of you, sometimes I find you're not here. So, morning, afternoon, evening, good night, depending on where you are. But it's morning somewhere, so good morning.
All right.
Yeah.
I see you also have a new look. There's a bow tie. What's the inspiration?
It accidentally fell on my shirt.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm loving it. You know, I love my sweaters. And sometimes the long necktie usually disturbs me. So the bow tie is working just perfectly for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
New identity.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Now, we'll start off with the case of Boniface Mwangi.
Yes.
Because he was in court yesterday, and the charges, the initial charges from the DCI, or is it the ODPP, were that he's a terrorist or was aiding in terrorism. And they did a search in his house in Lukenya. They went to his Mageuzi office in Kilimani, where I don't know, they picked tear gas canisters and maybe, I don't know, something else. Yes, a bullet.
1 round, yeah.
Yes. How did we get here?
I was at the courts yesterday. We had first-hand experience. We supported Boniface Mwangi because we believe I was not just standing with Boniface Mwangi. I was standing with the Constitution of Kenya 2010. That our civil liberties will not be taken away from us arbitrarily. That we shall not be arrested like that. We shall not be harassed. We shall not be intimidated. We shall not be threatened. We shall not be caused to go through undue suffering for nothing. This is what the 2010 Constitution envisioned for all of us. So when I went there as a person defending the Constitution of Kenya 2010, standing, upholding, and speaking for it, because our Constitution has a voice, and sometimes it decides to speak through some of us. But secondly, and most importantly, is they accused Boniface Mwangi of terrorism initially. Now, the terrorism world is thoroughly disappointed in Boniface Mwangi. And if there is an association of terrorists, if they have such a thing, or there is a group, maybe they even have a WhatsApp group, they are discussing Boniface Mwangi in that WhatsApp group, and they are saying he's a total letdown. The terrorists in the world are saying Boniface Mwangi has failed. The terrorists in the world are saying he's a fake terrorist. All the terrorists combined are actually complaining. Actually, if they found Boniface Mwangi, they would beat him up. He has failed all terrorists in this world because, you see, one of the things they found with him was a tear gas canister. Now, which terrorist wants a tear gas canister? A tear gas canister scatters people. Now, which terrorist wants to scatter people before you bomb them? It beats the purpose. A terrorist, the idea behind terrorism is to cause maximum damage, to inflict such high numbers of casualties on people that they'll always remember you as the most terrible or terrific terrorist. So Boniface Mwangi fails the test because if he was indeed a terrorist, he chooses the wrong implements, and one of them is a tear gas canister. Actually, if terrorists see Boniface Mwangi, they would slap him. They would say, you're a fake terrorist. You're not a good one. How can you scatter people and then you bomb them later after you scattered them? The idea is to bomb them and kill so many of them. So even not judging from our eyes, judging from the eyes of seasoned terrorists, I think wherever they are disappointed. They are thoroughly disappointed with Boniface Mwangi. He's not making a good terrorist. If maybe people think he was learning, he hasn't learned. He's a slow learner in that. So he has failed terribly as a terrorist. The charges would later be changed because now they said they found him in possession of
Wait,
one round.
wait, before we get to the changed ones, now let's look at it from the eyes of a normal Kenyan. When you're charged with terrorism, what
It is
does it
terrible.
take?
The first thing, you see, terrorism is an international offense. It has got what we call in law international jurisdiction. If today I happen to slap somebody here, that criminal offense has a jurisdiction. You'll probably be required to go to the nearest police station, and it will probably go to the nearest court around here. Terrorism, on the other hand, is international. Once the police, for example, go on their X handle and say that Boniface Mwangi is a terrorist, what happens is that anywhere he lands in the world, he can be arrested. And he'll be charged anywhere. Terrorism has got international jurisdiction. It's like piracy. If a piracy is arrested anywhere on the face of the earth, there's international jurisdiction. So it's one terrible thing to declare a son of this country who has fought so much and so bitterly for the betterment of this country and declare them a terrorist. It means if he took a flight and landed in any country in the world, they would arrest him and detain him because he's declared a terrorist. And it would take a lot of work to try to prove that he's not a terrorist. So let us know of the ramifications that come with your own national police service declaring you a terrorist.
Why would the Kenyan police or maybe don't know, the DCI operatives and all that sit down and want to label someone as a terrorist while they know very well they're not? And this is looking at it because that is just Boniface. Before Boniface, there's about 70 young people who've been charged with the same.
Now, again, you have a nation that is not interested in its own children. You can't be a country that is talking of looking for employment opportunities for young people, saying how you're going to send them abroad. I heard the other day they were saying they had sent I don't know how many thousands of young people abroad, which is of course a lie. How will you send them abroad after you've declared them terrorists? And also you ask yourself, okay, I'm not saying a citizen should have a tear gas canister with them. And I'm not saying Boni had one because nobody knows whether he had it or whether it was planted. But they are saying a tear gas canister is an implement of terrorism, which they have been throwing on our children, even at Langata, when the children protested. So are they saying that they were terrorizing our children? Are they saying that they've been feeding us with instruments of terror? He had a bullet. They say he had one round of ammunition in his office. That's what the police have been giving our children on the streets. That's what they've been dispensing to people like their biscuits. So if it is found in the hands of the civilian, oh, one round of ammunition, oh, he's a terrorist. What about a government that meets hundreds of rounds of ammunition on demonstrators, killing many of them? Is that a government that is a terrorist outfit? That's a question we need to answer.
I still don't. I would question why even I don't know, when taken to court now. I know maybe you're not a magistrate, but from your legal understanding, if today I'm taken to court on charges of terrorism, and then maybe like now Boni's case, then they are dropped before they get to the magistrate. What does Boni do next?
Well, what happened? I think they really agonized as DCI after arresting him. You know, they arrest first and then they think. they really agonized and they wondered, what do we charge Boniface for? So the charge sheet, we went to that court that morning prepared to deal with a terrorism issue. I remember some of my former classmates, Janja Maina, and very many other advocates who were there. And, and the charge sheet that came before us was one of being in possession of now what they called one round of ammunition and a tear gas canister. And so now we were dealing with that he's in possession of things he should not have been in possession of. But also, what hurts us the most is when they went, they claimed to have had a court order which court order, when we searched on the system, we couldn't find. And it's supposed to have the magistrate's signature. We don't know which magistrate signed that court order until now.
A name?
And it's supposed to have the name and signature of the court, and it didn't have. And when we even investigated further, if they had a court order, it was specific. If they did, it was specific to his office. But they would then go to his house first, ransack the house, and take laptops, which we have later learned contained the children's work. It was what the children used to study, because nowadays many schools, you have a laptop. So it actually has the assignments, the children who are supposed to have exams in a few days. And most of what their reading material is in those laptops. But the DCI has insisted on confiscating and keeping them. So, and and when we looked at the list of things they collected from Boniface Mwangi, then I thought every Kenyan is a terrorist.
Yeah, because
Laptop, if you have a laptop, you're a terrorist. If you have a
assorted hard
biro,
drives.
if you have a hard drive, if you have a notebook, if you have phone, all those things are now terrorism materials. And they were confiscated. So Kenyans, I think it's a high time you got rid of your laptop, your phone, your notebook, your pen, and your children's playing gadgets, if they're electronic. Those ones are terrorism materials, even a notebook. Because that's what they confiscated. We were hoping, or we were thinking, tutakuta kuna bomb kwa Boni. Tutakuta kuna, a grenade. Tutakuta kuna, those things that terrorists use. Or even a rifle. Like now he had a bullet, they say, which I think he was planning to start throwing at people. He tells you, stop or I throw this bullet at you. Because there's no gun to dispense it. Ama angeiweka kwa fea, arushe kama mawe. I don't know. So these are the things that make us wait and see. Wait, 70 young people charged with terrorism? Then you ask, what were they using? Because hata kama mtu akona bullet and then atarusha hivi kama mawe.
Very good question. But now, in such a case, is Boni allowed to sue? Because, as you have said, he may go to a country and be arrested because he's been accused. He may even get to JKA and they say, your
He
documentation says you've been accused.
He doesn't even need to sue. He just needs to defend his case well. He has got a good team of legal team. I thank Senior Counsel Martha Karua, who joined us from abroad. She stopped everything she's doing in the US. And you can tell every advocate on that page, on that space and in that court, was doing it pro bono. But government was obviously paying the people who were coming to prosecute. Can you imagine a situation whereby, and if you want to know, where young people are getting free legal representation? Even the Law Society of Kenya was very well represented. I celebrate Faith Odhiambo because she was represented by her deputy president. And so when you think about it, is that we have a terrible, terrible administration, that they do such atrocious things, that advocates of high repute, senior counsel, and all strata of advocates just decide to come and defend our young people for free.
Now that he was caught with a tear gas canister, this is out of experience. I've gone for mandamano, and these tear gas canisters are thrown aimlessly, so to say, to disperse crowds. So if, for instance, it's thrown and it doesn't blow up, and maybe someone collects and goes with it home, or even the bullet shells, is that a crime?
Okay. To be honest, the state has preserved certain implements of violence for themselves. And actually, the Prevention of Terrorism Act, which is, I think, Cap 30, the Prevention of Terrorism Act of 2012, actually does list all those things that amount to what you would say are instruments of terrorism. The only thing that Kenyans have not closed their window on is the possibility that that tear gas canister was actually brought to his office. If this had been a good operation, they would have made sure they come with a camera, so that the time they are opening the doors and going in and doing a search, there's a camera going to the point where you see, boom, here it is. But you don't come and say it was found in his office. And then the way it had been laid on his books, who has a tear gas canister that they know they are not supposed to have? Then you put it in your office on display.
In fact, it was behind very beautiful awards,
Yes,
accolades that he's won over the years.
A tear gas canister is not one of the awards. Na kanaweza lipukia huko anyway. that would make his office something else. So it's not one of those things you want to put there and say, this one is one of my trophies. But then what do you do with one bullet that we are not told fits into each gun and doesn't fit into each gun?
And as far as we know, even Boniface said he's not a licensed gun owner. I think in one of his clips yesterday.
I'm happy they didn't place a gun in his office, because now that would have been different. They were so, God is so faithful, you only allowed them to remember to put a bullet.
Okay. Now, these are the 70 young people who have been charged, and what's the cost? The cost usually.
Many of them have reached out to me. There's one here, if I was to show you the message, he's told me they've been asked to pay 100,000 shillings for their bond. So they don't have. The government is literally actually making money from young people who don't have that kind of money. So now there are 70 of them, and each of them is required to pay at least 100,000. I think this is an insult to the process of justice.
What determines the level of bond you can get?
It's left to the discretion of the judge. They look at the gravity of the crime, the possibility of you being a flight risk, and so on and so forth. By flight risk, I mean there are people who akitoka hiyo koti utaimuona tena.
Yeah.
They will disappear, and then you look for them. They will disappear like a sneeze in the air, especially people who may come from communities that are border communities. Because you see, if you live between the Kenya-Somali border, if you walked into Somali, who will find you? If you are like, say, the Maasai, for example, and you live Kenya-Namanga border, you just go into Tanzania na uvae shuka. So one of the reasons why sometimes it's set at a high price is because this person is a flight risk. And maybe the people who are changaing are the family members. They are raising that money together. So if they raise it together, they will produce this person because they want their money back.
But looking at it from a very judicial eye point of view, of course, I know you don't work for the judiciary, but this whole idea of having such issues, what is this doing in terms of trust between the public and the justice and criminal system of Kenya?
I want to applaud the judge who was handling the matter yesterday, because when he mentioned a personal bond of 1 million, only the bench here understood what's going on. The bulk of the people there started yelling and shouting, 1 million is too much. Again, I like the spirit of Kenyans. We will fight for you. We will fight for our people. We are not worried about you are in court. No, they told the judge, no, 1 million is too much. Only now for us who are in the legal fraternity to explain to them that, this personal bond is, his Boniface is not going to pay anything. But should he fail to appear in court on that day, then his family would pay 1 million. So literally what the judge was saying is go for free and come back at 1 million cost. If you don't come back, then it's going to cost you 1 million. So go for free. If you don't appear, it's going to cost you 1 million. And I think this is what they should have done with those young people. Instead of depositing cash in this place, we've given you a personal bond of 500,000 each. Go free. But if you don't come here, your family will pay 500,000. So the families would produce the young people to court.
Okay. So ideally, how many types of bonds exist? Now that we understand personal bond means you have to appear in court.
Yes.
Is there another one where you have to pay the cash bill?
There's the cash bill, where this one basically happens most of the time at a police station. You go to a police station, and at the discretion of the OCS, they look at what, like say someone says you conned them off 10,000 or 100,000. They can give a fraction of that. That is at the discretion of the police station, the OCS. They can tell you, look, pay a cash bill of 5,000, 10,000, whatever, and they give you a receipt. And you go home. And then when you go home, on the day now you are produced before court, you will receive back your cash bill, and it's usually documented on the day of the court. Then sometimes we have the bond, like you have a traffic offense, for example, and you go and deny. You decide today, I'm not going to accept, I'm going to deny. Tutapambana na wao, I was not over speeding. So you're told, pay 40,000 or 50,000 as a bond, go home. You will come and continue with your case. Then we have now what we are calling the personal one. the personal bond, where like Boniface Mwangi was told it's worth this much. Basically, what you're being told is to produce you. If you don't come back, it's going to cost your family this much. So all those are there, they are set, and many of them are usually at the discretion of the court.
Okay.
And they look at the severity of the crime, they look at the amount in question. Like, if the judge has got reasonable reason to believe that you worked for the county and it is being alleged you stole 200 million, and from the look of things you actually do look like someone who stole 200 million, then they could raise it high and say, pay this amount of money and a surety. So pay 3 million, for example, and a surety of a similar amount. Whatever it is they determine is based on so many factors. And also, it's also based on who you are. They can say, Sarah Mwangi is a known TV personality. She has a fixed abode. She has her life going on. She's probably doing her master's at the university. She's a responsible citizen. She has not had friction with government before. And therefore, if we allow her out on a cash bill of 20,000, she is a person who will return back. If you're a flight risk, wakikuangalia wanaona tu huyu anakaa kupotea, they raise it even more. So that hata ukishindwa ukae ndani, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Now, the public outcry for, say, the last 2 weeks, especially to these young people who were arrested during and charged during this protest season, the public outcry and the judiciary, what's that doing to the image or the trust for that matter?
I think the judiciary, they are the custodians of justice, and they are supposed to give justice to people. When you raise and you institute a bond or bail terms that are unavailable or impossible for young people, what you are doing is you are taking away their rights as enshrined in our constitution, their right to bail, their right to a free and fair hearing, their right to be out there on bail so that they can come back and defend their position. So let the bail terms be reasonable. Let them be reflective of the challenges of the families of these people. And in the first place, they're on the streets because they can't fix a meal. They're on the streets because they are jobless. So now telling them to pay 100,000, what have you done? You've technically relegated them to industrial area prison, remand.
How would we know, or the judiciary know, the status of the families of this, some of them, I mean?
The pleadings. Yesterday, when we were at Boniface Mwangi's mention or pre-trial for that matter, I remember the person who first spoke requesting for bail terms said, now, Your Honor, we even have raised some money, we've put some together, 5,000 shillings. We are praying that this honorable court finds it okay to accept the 5,000 shillings. So when you come up early, during, if you have a defense lawyer, it's usually good for your lawyer to come and say, this is a person of meager means, this is a person who is not able, and this person is not a flight risk, and this person is not a threat to the well-being of it. And when you don't have a lawyer, you say it to yourself. You say, Your Honor, mimi naomba kusikizwa. That's why you're in court. You will be heard. It's your day in court. You say, mimi mahali nimetoka. We have never seen 20,000 put together. We only hear that you can combine it for 3 months together. So please, if you're going to give me cash bail or bail terms, I can afford 2,000 shillings. Beyond that, I'm going to rot in jail. I plead with this court to look at me with favor. And that's one of the things that determines. So you have to also state your case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Now, when you look at this whole idea of having terror charges against young people and comparing to what terror has been for Kenya and what we defined, I mean, the Somalia incursion is what we knew as terror, the Westgate attack, the Garissa University. When you look at what terror is and what it's taken Kenyans through, then you start seeing people going for demonstrations being charged for terrorism. Are we redefining what terrorism is? Or even downplaying how, the families of people who've been
What
affected?
happened is the people who took them to court had felt terrorized. There are people who, when you tell they are doing the wrong thing, they feel terrorized. They just want to continue doing the wrong thing and to have a right to do the wrong thing and to tell others that you're terrorizing them. So that's where we are. It's just a government that is thoroughly afraid of its own citizen.
What does that do to maybe families or people who were affected by terror victims? The terrorists, I mean, we see it just the other day.
You see, that's why I'm telling you, terrorists are just laughing at us. They are saying, if Boniface Mwangi is the best terrorist you have, then you have nothing. And it's true. Kenya has got no terrorists. If the best of the best that they could get had a tear gas canister, if he did have it, and had a one round of ammunition, if truly it was his, then we have no terrorism in Kenya. That was a confirmation that this administration has looked for the best of the local terrorists we have. And they found one who had a tear gas canister and one round of ammunition. That's the worst, most terrifying terrorist we have, who is a Kenyan.
Legally, as Kenyans, when such things happen and we are not happy and we want, of course, to follow the constitution, what is the best we can do? Because it is happening today.
Go to court. I remember one of the things that we fought really hard was the advocates telling the court, we want you to give an order, telling DCI not to rearrest him immediately after this, because there's that habit also.
Yeah.
You are released and then you are rearrested immediately. You are released and then you are arrested immediately. So I think this country has focused its eyes on the wrong terrorists. The terrorists that we have in this country are the people who wake up one day and tell us that Kenya Ports Authority has lost 100 billion and we are supposed to smile. That's an economic terrorist. You're talking of critical government installations. What happens? They are saying that these young people destroyed critical government installations. I agree. Destroyed police stations. But stop it there. When you steal 100 billion from the port of Mombasa, isn't that a destruction of critical installation? So the terrorists are the people who stole 100 billion from Kenya Ports Authority. Those ones should have been arrested and taken to the highest maximum prison and put through a process of dealing with them like terrorists. When you wake up one day and you hear Shah lost 104 billion, and I'm glad the controller of budget, and I'm glad the auditor general, the other day she was being interviewed by Sifuna and by Moses Kajwang, the senator, and it has been agreed that Shah was actually a scam and that truly Kenyans lost 104 billion. Now, those are economic terrorists. When you talk of somebody destroying critical, a guy comes, they destroy a window to a hospital. That person is treated as a terrorist. A politician comes and steals 104 billion from all our hospitals combined, na anataka kuitwa mheshimiwa. Somebody comes and you are told in one night, e-Citizen has lost 15 billion. That's a critical installation of this government that has been robbed of. If somebody had come, for example, and thrown a stone at NTSA, imagine angeitwa criminal, angeitwa terrorist, angepelekwa kotini, aandikiwe fine ya 100,000. But the people who stole 15 billion from our economy through that system of e-Citizen have not been arrested. When you hear that the bulk of our monies cannot be accounted for, they are not going through the proper procedure to the exchequer, nobody is being asked a question. Yes, we have terrorists in this country, and I'll tell you who they are. The first group of terrorists is those people who stole 100 billion from our ports. The second group of terrorists is those people who stole 104 billion through Shah. The third group of terrorists is those people who stole 15 billion through e-Citizen. And I can continue naming and naming and naming and naming. And I can tell you for free, we have our eyes and guns on the wrong set of terrorists. We need to change direction and turn these guns and bullets and ammunition that we have on our young people on the right terrorists.
The institutions that you would expect to turn are such as judiciary, ODPP, and the likes, right? But the ODPP has been pointed out several times with fictitious allegations and claims on different people across the country. So now...
That's why I'm saying we have very many terrorists in this country. When people come in a car without number plates, and they are wielding an AK-47, and their faces are covered, and you can number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 Subarus in Kiserian roaming during the day, armed men, masked, unidentified, no number plate. Where are you looking for terrorists? They were in Kiserian. When someone takes a gun and shoots a child who is watching TV in the house, that's a terrorist. Why are you looking for Boniface Mwangi? The president was saying the other day that we are not parenting our children well. That the reason our young people are dying on the streets is because they are not being parented well. Now, I want the people to tell us, that young girl who was shot in their sitting room when she was watching cartoon, ni mzazi hakuwa amesikiza. Where else would the parent have taken that girl? The parent told the girl, kuna maandamano. Sit at home, watch TV, do your homework. That's the safest haven a mother and a father could have provided for a child. Now that child is shot inside their sitting room. And they are busy looking for terrorists. Atiboni Mwangi is a terrorist. Where is the guy who shot that young girl? Where are the people who were driving 10 Subarus in Kiserian and firing aimlessly? We lost 40 people on that day. None of those is a terrorist. They had AK-47. They had unlabeled vehicles. They were masked. They were hidden, but they are not terrorists. A person who has 3 children like Boniface Mwangi and a wife, an own abode, an own house, an own office, and drives a car that is not tinted, and drives a car with a number plate, and has never masked himself when he's going anywhere, including on Maandamano, is a terrorist. So we have our eyes on the wrong terrorists. And we need to start thinking of who the right terrorists are. And we have to get them. When a young person was shot during Maandamano, and then they dragged his body like that one of a dog in towards a police station, those are terrorists. Where are they today? That was terrorism. We were looking at terrorism. You shoot a human being and then you drag their body like it's a dog into a police station. Those are terrorists. Where are they right now? So we have terrorists in this country. But yes, we have focused on getting the wrong terrorists. When someone is going to buy milk from a shop and they are quickly thrown into a Probox or a Subaru or whatever other vehicle, those are terrorists right there. That is terrorism. Because I have not had a person who was summoned who refused to go. And I have always told this administration, we can run this country better. I would rather the police summon and say, we are summoning person X. And then they put on their Twitter handle and their Facebook and say, today we have summoned person X. They have 24 hours within which to present themselves to the nearest police station. Failure to which they'll be arrested. So if that person is abducted in such a way, we would feel this person has had fair warning. I'm telling you, as many Kenyans as you will call, they are happy to present themselves to a police station. These are the bullshit and nonsense of coming to people randomly and scaring them and snatching them away like they did to Alfred Kettel in front of his wife and children on a Sunday, someone who's been a member of parliament. That was wrong. So those are the terrorists.
And you know, it's even worse to see that Boniface has been at the forefront in fighting for better ways of treating our police and training and even paying them. But now the same police are used by the system or the criminals in the system to push for agendas that are even against them. So sad. And what makes me feel bad to this date about that girl who was shot in Kiambu, the president never gave any statement. The CS for Interior never gave anything. The DP, nothing. And the girl was buried, and the country is expected to move on like nothing happened.
If
What,
the
what
girl
are
had,
we doing to our children?
if the girl had said one term, they would have responded to that thing one term. It's the only thing they care about, that they will be back in government again. If all your children would die inside their sitting rooms, it doesn't concern, and they've shown it. When a girl like that would have died in another country, say abroad, it would have even caused a resignation. There would have been a politician, there would have been a leader taking responsibility. those people would have sent a message of condolence. They would have said, we are sorry. They would have helped, at least even with the burial. Buy a coffin, support the family. But they are going through the pain of losing their young one. And then they are also going through the pain of looking for money to bury their young one. And then after that, nobody cares about them. So it is irresponsible. But this is why this girl never said the things they wanted to hear. They only respond to one term. It's the only thing that, hey, I'm a one term. Let's deal with that one. But you die, it's okay. You can be buried. They don't care. You're not important. What is important is a second term.
You're a parent of Gen Zs.
Yes, I have a Gen Z and I have a Gen Alpha.
Okay.
And I thank God for my children.
You have two generations.
Yes.
Now, on Sunday, the president called on you parents who've become very irresponsible. You do not know how to parent your children. You're not talking to them. And you do not know that our police are trained to deal with criminals, not normal people. And yet their motto is utumishi kwa wote.
I will start
Why are you not being a responsible parent?
I am learning how to be a parent from my head of state. The son to the head of state went to KICC. We are yet to see a payment or a booking for that space. Like every other Kenyan would do. To launch something that looks, I don't know the name, but I thought it was Doom. And they were there. And when they were launching Doom, we saw, I don't know whether the people on the rooftops had their seatbelts on. The people who were dangling precariously, all of them had their seatbelts on. Because that matatu was in motion. And when you parent your children well, one of the first things they will do, if they are launching a matatu, they will tell everybody get in and fasten your seatbelts. The fact that that matatu was moving with people hanging over it means there was a flaunting of so many rules. The Traffic Act was grossly violated. But tell me, is that good parenting? Is this what he taught the children? Is this what we are saying that the head of state has provided as an example for us of a well-raised child? Which well-raised child risks the lives of young people by allowing them to hang that precariously and dangerously on his matatu? We want to be responsible parents, but we are learning from the best. And the children of the best, this is what they are doing at KICC. So, accuse us, yes, of being irresponsible parents, but at least show us your responsible children. And yes, I do not see anything different about the issue of the president blaming us as parents. When he first became president, the first 6 months was spent on blaming Uhuru Kenyatta for everything that went wrong. And I thank God he went to the US for over 6 months. And they had nothing to blame. So they started now blaming, that time they were blaming IMF and World Bank. They were blaming our debt. They were saying the reason we are not able to do anything is the debt. Then they were done blaming the debt. Then they started blaming Raila. Maandamano had just kicked in 2023. Oh, Raila ni mzee. Oh, Raila ni mbaya. Oh, Raila and his people. They blamed him and blamed him. And then, all of a sudden, they discovered there's another bad guy called Gachagua, Rigathi. So they started blaming Rigathi Gachagua for sabotaging government from inside. They would go all the way to impeach him. I would have thought, oh, he's been impeached. Now we have a perfect country. There's water flowing in the taps. The roads are being done. Our debt has been fully paid. The police have become professional all of a sudden because Rigiji was the problem. Shock on you, it became worse. They were done with Rigiji. They started blaming Ford Foundation. They were done with Ford Foundation. They started blaming now the parents. They went ahead to blame the church. Wakasema mpaka hii kanisa ni mbaya. After that, they blamed the young people themselves. Once they are done, they are going to blame the oxygen we breathe. The only thing this administration has not blamed is itself. They haven't seen themselves as the problem. The problem is everybody else, including the air we breathe. The problem is not them.
But from very genuine concern, do you think the president and his administration understand these people he's calling children are actually adults? Because the adult age in Kenya is 18. Most of these people who are on the streets are between, say, 20 to 30. So, I mean, 28, it's the max Gen Z, right? So these people have been adults for, say, some 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and yet you still want to call them children, looking at it like they do not understand what public administration and good governance is. And then when they hold you accountable, you want them to treat them as children. Isn't that an unfair strand? Because parents raise kids to be responsible. Why is it that when they become responsible, now we want to accuse them, you're too responsible?
At what point did our young people become irresponsible? They've held the government to account. They are not irresponsible. They've asked, why are you stealing SHA money, 104 billion, which the control of budget has confirmed and which the Auditor General has confirmed. Your own Auditor General has confirmed that 104 billion has been stolen. Young people hold you to account. You call them irresponsible. It has been confirmed that we lost 15 billion on e-citizen. Our young people ask, they're irresponsible. The port of Mombasa, 100 billion. It has been confirmed. What do? You call our young people irresponsible. They come and tell you, look here, we are losing jobs. Companies are closing down. And if you want to know we are losing jobs, in this era of this avoidable housing, Kenya is using 15 million bags less of cement in 2024 compared to 2023. 15 million bags less of cement means a lot for this economy. So it means that there is always a man behind that bag, beyond the number of constructions having diminished. There is a man behind that bag. Ndio anaikoroga, ndio ikue simiti, ndio ipande. It tells you how many mijengo jobs we've lost before you go to anything else. So when young people come and ask you questions about that, you call them irresponsible. When young people tell you that your son's matatu is flaunting public rules, it's gotten to a place they don't obey the traffic law, the police have to look aside. And videos are so many. If you just Google the names of those matatus and just go on TikTok, and you will see them. They don't obey the traffic law. Our young people are telling you, your son's matatus do not obey the traffic law. Then you come and say they're irresponsible? We are not irresponsible. We are seeing the irresponsibility in administration. We are pointing it out, and they are angry that we are pointing it out.
And then the issue of police being trained to deal with criminals. That is the president who told you that's why you need to raise your kids better, because the police are not trained to parent. But then again, they work with the motto utumishi kwa wote. So both criminals and...
I like what the president said. The police are trained to deal with criminals. And with here can mean many things. It means they are trained to act on criminals, but it also means that they are trained to get instructions from criminals. Because we saw during maandamanos, our police were dealing with criminals. They were getting instructions from criminals. We have elected leaders who went on record saying they will bring goons into town, saying they will beat up Gen Zs. One promised to bring us Pokot warriors. So it is okay for the police to deal with criminals hand in hand, or to beat up criminals. And yes, our young people are not trained like that. We never expected that our police had been trained to deal hand in hand with criminals, because they came literally hand in hand with criminals to beat up innocent Gen Zs who were carrying a flag and water. So the president is not wrong when he says that his police, it just depends on how you use the proposition. The police were actually trained to deal with criminals. Maybe he meant they were trained to deal together with criminals. And they work hand in hand. And they come in the streets, and you can see police accompanied by armed goons. Check your phone. There's so many images of them beating up innocent young people carrying a flag and water. So if that's what they were trained to do, unfortunately, that's not the police service we want. And that's why we are saying this administration where police are trained to deal with criminals will go. And we want an administration that will start realizing that this policeman, who probably did not do so well in school, is beating up a graduate who did very well, who actually uses their common sense better than the goons who are beating him up. And that is now the Kenya we want, where we shall change everything that is wrong and bring everything that is right. And I usually tell President William Ruto, there's nothing wrong with you not being in power. It doesn't have to be. Kenyans did you a favor. We gave you 5 years. And if Kenyans tell you, please, it's enough, Don't force it. If it's enough, it's enough.
Okay. Interesting. The biggest political voice at the moment who's causing, like every time he speaks, there's always counter attacks from all corners, is the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, who's been on tour in the US and still is. And I saw yesterday he has said he actually is on the front line to want to be president of this country. Of course, that's dependent on the case that's in court. But what do you make of all these statements he's been making while abroad?
I like what they said about him when they impeached him. He will be forgotten. They said he will be forgotten immediately. Now, that man who was supposed to have been forgotten immediately has become the most disturbing thorn in the flesh of the Kenya Kwanza administration. By the way, allow me to say something about Rigathi Gachagua, because people like crucifying me and saying, oh, you're working with Riggy G. Oh, I tell them, look here, Kenyans. There was a guy who was called Saul. Saul was one of the best persecutors of Christians. If there's a guy who used to butcher Christians, it was Saul. He experienced his Damascus moment. And after his Damascus moment, Saul became the most important person in the conversion of non-believers into believers. Actually, more than half the Testament, of the New Testament, is written by a guy who used to butcher Christians. If today we were to speak about Paul now, after he became Paul from Saul, you realize that in the book of the conversion of souls, even he wrote to Thessalonians, Colossians, Philippians, and so on and so forth. Riggy G may have had his past when he was in government. I personally did not like him. But on this other side, he has now started the writing of a book called The Journey to Sugoi. And The Journey to Sugoi will have more chapters written by William Ruto than any other person. In fact, he's writing now the same way Paul wrote letters. He's writing a letter to the Meru, Riggy G's letter to the cousins, Riggy G's letter to the Mashemejis, Riggy G's letter to, the Luya, Riggy G's letter. And then he's gotten so far, the way now Paul would leave and go to Mesopotamia. Riggy G has now gone to the US. And he's even writing letters to the Americans. I'm hoping he's also going to go to Kenyans who are in China, and so on and so forth. So the Riggy G after the impeachment is the Riggy G I work with. He's like the Paul. He's written more in the book of how to take Ruto to Sigoi than any other person will ever write. And even right now when he's in the US, look at what is happening. Riggy G is in the US. I remember one politician tweeting and saying, Kenyans' problems have gone abroad, we are going to have peace for some time. Can you imagine? He's controlling Kenyan politics from there. I have seen our own politicians always responding to what he's saying there. The whole Kenya Kwanza administration is doing nothing else. They're not even focusing on some of us who are here. They are so busy. What has Riggy G said? And he said it when they were asleep because our time difference. Even what he says when they are asleep has become a thorn in their flesh. And every morning they have to ask, Alisema nini? Then they respond, to the point of even insulting his wife.
I was going to come to that. Kikuyu member of parliament, Kimani Shunga, has now become very personal, attacking the wife, saying that the wife of Riggy has another bishop on the side. Do we have to get that dirty in politics?
To start with, that was uncalled for. It is unfortunate, it's disrespectful, it's despicable, it shouldn't have come from a leader. But let us remove Riggy G. Let us even remove Kimani Shunga. Let us put Fanya Mambo and a friend of mine I can call Martin. And now Fanya Mambo is telling Martin, wewe Martin umekaliwa na bibi yako. Sasa mimi Fanya Mambo, badala ya kuambia Martin amekaliwa na bibi yake, kwani mimi bibi yangu hana makalio anikalie niache kusikia vibaya? I think because just remove them, let's put my name. Mimi badala ya kwenda kuambia Martin amekaliwa na bibi yake, nafaa kuambia bibi yangu, si hata uko na makalio, si unikalie nisikie vile Martin anasikia akikaliwa. Because if it hurts me so much that my friend amekaliwa na bibi yake, that I have to talk about it. Na bibi yangu nikiangalia ako na makalio pia, si anikalie, then nisikie vile wale wanakaliwa wanasikia. I mean, it's an option you have as a family. You can choose to have your wife amekukalia if there is such a thing. So this nonsense of politicians bringing about things that shouldn't be brought about is not acceptable. Kama uko na shida na mtu kukaliwa na bibi yake, wewe enda waambie wako akukalie, usikie vile anasikianga akikaliwa. Now, Does Dorcas have a bishop? Do we care? Dorcas is a mother of 2 young men. She's a wife. I intend to get into the political space, but I will never wake up one day. I mean, I have never liked William Ruto. Have you ever heard me speak of Rachel Ruto? I have had every opportunity to come on this show and fight Rachel Ruto. I don't. The only problem I had when she was being given 700 million of our money, that was a nexus between me and her. But I will never speak about Rachel Ruto on this show because I think she's a mother. She's a wife to William Ruto. I have a problem with William. I don't have a problem with Rachel Ruto, the person. So let us draw the lines. Let us get to where we say no. Beyond here, this is childishness, actually. There's a level it gets to, and you can only be called childish. Because when I get to the point where the only thing I can talk about is your wife and children, I mean, very many people know his wife, Kimani. Very many people know his children. But all of us have chosen never to say a word about them. Yeah. And we never will, even if I don't agree with him. 200 years from now, I'll never speak about a politician's wife and their children.
And Kimani seems to have an issue with high cousins and the way he says it. What happened?
He has an issue with everything because I think every time and everywhere he goes, that's what he hears. It's the spontaneity. When something is real and when something is about to happen, it's very spontaneous. Like, kuna songs za one time. Everywhere you go, have you ever heard a song for two time? It's not spontaneous. It's people being put together, being given tents and chairs, being fed, being given money, and then they're being told semeni two time. But you go to a club, you are drunk, you tell the DJ, wait, it's midnight. Tunataka kusema one time. And the DJ looks at it and is like, hey, we are going to ruin the party. Let me give them their 3 minutes. They sing one time, we continue. People go for a marathon. And spontaneously, I didn't hear them singing two time. They were singing one time. People go anywhere. I went to Dagoretti South on Saturday. Sunday, there was a matanga. And I gave my rambirambis. And then I told them, that's all I had. They said, we Fanya Mambo tunakujua, hujatuambia one time. I was like, sini matanga. They said, hata kama tunalia, ile machozi tunalia, na hii serikali ya William Ruto, ni mingi kuliko machozi hata ya kupoteza our own loved one. So usema tu one time, hiyo kitu ikutoke. And I was so happy to say it, nilisikia kiwaru kimetoka, like, one time. So it's so spontaneous. And nobody demanded from me that I say two time. I asked them, hamutaki ingine? Ananiambia, Fanya Mambo kama uliingia huko, tukwambie tukufukuze hapa. So I told them, apana, you know me. I am properly saved in the gospel according to the one time. So there we are.
All right. And with your gospel, IEBC is now in place. And I just saw the other day the chairperson of the commission saying that they have received applications to, what is it called?
Recall
Some of the
peleka
MPs,
nyumbani.
yes.
Yes.
Well, what do you feel about that? And
It's the right thing.
he said about 4.
One of them is Kabete. That I'm reliably informed. I even have the documents here with
Kabete
me.
or Kikuyu?
Kabete constituency. Kikuyu, they're in the process of collecting. They've just started. Waliona, hey, hatuwezi achwa. Ooh, disaster. They have to remove. So Kabete constituency has done. They collected theirs early. I know Madera, the same. Those are the two that I confirmed. I know they have submitted more than enough names. They need 30%. Most of them have done up to 40% of the total voters. So they have enough numbers they have given to IBC. Obviously, the way the constitution was added on the recall clause, I need to confirm whether it's Article 1 or 2, is that Parliament needed to make legislation to facilitate that. But of course, they went ahead and refused to create legislation on how to be recalled, but they made it for MCAs, how you can recall MCAs. What is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. We'll use the recall clause for MCAs to recall them. Also, our constitution has given us that right. So nothing in this country can take away from us that right. And so we are championing it. We are pushing IEBC. When they come and tell us anything technical, we will move to court. And we will fight for it to be expedited quickly. Because the whole idea is to send a message. Plus, Kenya Kwanza has been moving around. Can you imagine someone who is telling you, oh, tutapata 2 term, William Ruto atashinda asubuhi? Naambia, now, if you are that popular and we want to recall you, sikubali tukutane kwa debe sahi. Then they decide, no, it's not convenient. If you're absolutely certain you'll be voted for in 2027, and you're absolutely certain that UDA is popular, prove it now. Sahi, ukiambua recall, wacha kuresist. Resign. Tupatane kwa debe. I'll stop everything and come and help the people of Kabete to campaign for whoever they want. Paka tumakshie to deliver that seat.
Out of 290, how many recalls are you expecting would be successful?
Even one is good. One is good enough. Ni kuonyesha hawa watu, we are not joking. Yeah. The fact that we have 4 and Kikuyu signatures are ongoing and a few other places signatures are ongoing, I don't know how many IEBC will have received by the end of this month. Yeah. But
Okay.
It's a process that's going on, and it's a process that is showing these people that Kenyans are ready to exercise the rights within the constitution.
Nice. And one person who's been key on trying to support this government technically is Raila Odinga. And just on Monday, confirmed, is it Monday or Sunday, confirmed that indeed he's going to work with President Ruto until 2027. And next month he begins his conclave idea, actualizing it. Well, what is your take on that?
Allow me, before I get to Baba, to say one other thing about IEBC, because we were right there. IEBC, I think you need to realize one thing. December 2022, about 1 million young people did their KCSE. Tells you they are over 18. 2023, another 1 million. 2024, another 1 million. The minimum number of young people who deserve to be on the voter register and who by constitutional right are supposed to vote in the upcoming by-elections, especially the ones that are in their constituencies, because it determines who will be their MP or MCA for the next 2.5 years, are supposed to be given their voters' cards. So we are requesting IEBC, before you even start this process of having by-elections, I think registration of voters can take a month or even 3 weeks. Open a window. Tell Kenyans, kama hujai register as a voter, this is the time to
Actually,
pick your vote.
they gave a statement yesterday that says, indeed, we hear the voices of young Kenyans demanding the opportunity to be counted and to be actively involved in the democratic process of rebuilding our country, Kenya. IEBC is currently finalizing internal processes and will, in the month of August 2025, announce via a gazette notice the timelines for resumption of the continuous voter registration to allow eligible citizens of Kenya to register as voters. So next month.
Awesome.
Your
You know,
request is, yes.
last time, when they announced that they are trying to register voters, there was voter apathy.
Yes, yes.
Nobody wanted that thing. Wacha wafungue August.
It is coming.
It will be an avalanche of not old, but young people who have made up their mind that they are changing this country through the ballot.
Yeah. So the message is to the young people.
We shall start a serious campaign of telling young people, aki kama hauna kura wezi kuwa rafiki yetu. It's the biggest, I've always told people, the best fight we shall ever put up against William Ruto's administration is to knock him out through the ballot. So young people, if you ever needed to fight, it's not maandamano. This is it. This is the real deal. Grab that vote. Then now we can go to Raila.
When that gazette notice is out, we will sure let you know. And if you miss out, by the way, you need to follow us on our Twitter account, because we're always updating on any news that is happening in this country that concerns you and change. Yes, Raila Odinga and his conclave.
Now, Baba, I spoke to him last time here about the 10-point agenda. And the response was immediate on the 10-point agenda. So let's also have this conversation with Baba. Baba continues to stay in this administration to 2027. That is not a problem. I think what William Ruto should be afraid of or thoroughly concerned about is how is Baba staying in this administration. Baba is staying in this administration having lost the entire Gusii vote that used to be Baba's stronghold. The Abagusi are not with him. They've made it clear. He even went to Shabana one day and he was told, we are not together. So Ruto, yes, Baba is staying with you until 2027, but without the Abagusi that used to support him. Baba is staying with you until 2027 without the Luya vote. The bulk of them are not with him. William Ruto, Baba is staying with you until 2027 without the bulk of what used to be Luo Nyanza, because more than half, and you can see what was happening in Homa Bay, are not happy with him being in a government. Baba is coming into Ruto's administration at a time where we can't say that the cost is solidly behind him. Baba is coming into the Ruto administration at a time when the whole of the Kambali region, the eastern, is not with him. So yes, Baba is staying with Ruto, and he's staying with Ruto until 2027, but without the traditional numbers that he used to command. William Ruto should be worried, because it's no use having him here if Eastern is not with him, if Coast is not with him, if Rift Valley is not with him, if Western is not with him. His traditional strongholds are not with him, but he's with you. So you have Baba, but not the Baba that went to the ballot.
You're assuming Ruto is a man without a plan.
Okay, you see, Ruto has always had a plan. The problem with his plan is that this time around it's not working. And I'll tell you why his plan is not working. First is the idea of taking Baba to the African Union was because it was only thought that only Baba would have arranged maandamano in this country that would have been successful. And so William Ruto had a very good plan. If I get rid of Baba, then sasa I can rule this country. And then God is faithful. He brings our young people who are tribeless, leaderless, and they go out there and you can't contain them and you can't control them. And then when you think they are done, they tell you we are coming on the 25th of June. And they do 27 counties. And then you don't know what to do. And then they just wait a few days and come for Sabasaba. And this one is crazy. It cripples very many things.
And
they
then,
give
and
Kenya
then they
a
are
public
shot
holiday.
and they can't go to demonstrate.
And then they are shot and they die. But you remember people died on the 25th.
Yeah.
Very many of them. But what happened on the 7th?
But don't you feel like now we're at a point where there is fatigue because of those?
You see, the price, I'm telling you, the young people have decided that removing William Ruto from the presidency has a price to be paid. And that's why you saw very many of them writing their eulogies, booking a fridge space in the mortuary, and even saying how they want to be buried. It's a price they have accepted to pay. He says shoot them in the legs. What do? They make trending videos of themselves now. They are ready to vote on crutches if that's what it's going to take. They are ready to vote on wheelchairs. And they said now we are moving from wheelbarrows to wheelchairs. So these young people have decided that no price is too high.
So the
pay.
Liberty Tree will keep being watered by blood until...
Yes, until we do the right thing. But it's because this person is looking back and saying, I am already dead anyway. You remember the story we did together here of a medical doctor who was selling Minji?
Yeah.
By the way, I want to tell Kenyans he found himself a slot at the internship. He has been sent to a place in Kisumu. And I want to thank every Kenyan who called me and asked for his number, and every Kenyan who called me and asked for his details. By the way, so many of you, if you didn't know, very many people sent him some money.
Yeah.
Very many people, even his upkeep, when he was going to Kisumu, he had something. I remember him calling me and telling him, Fanya Mambo, I don't know how to thank him. I to thank you. I told him, no, you don't have to thank me. He raised his issue. We talked about it here. It looked like a joke. That video had over 3 million views on one of the platforms. And people, Kenyans are wonderful people. They took up that story like it was their own. And you remember ilileta shida sana mpaka now we have interns.
Yeah,
and
that's
money
why we
was
keep
automatically
having
found.
these conversations.
Yeah, money was automatically found. And this young man is now an intern. And we are praying to him that he will succeed in his medical space. So we just have to keep saying that these are not funny, fictitious stories. They are real stories. Some exist. Some is somewhere in Kisumu. And yeah.
That's very good to hear.
Yeah.
And we wish him the very best.
Yeah.
And this is a point to remind government institutions and people who work for government, actually, when some of these things are raised and you really feel you want to talk about it, you can always come. We don't bite here. And the issues we raise are because they come from the public. So we are not here to be against government. We are here because we want better structures and functional structures for that matter. Because like now we have interns who have been posted across the country, which is a good thing. And it was for the first time we were having people stay home for how many months? Was it 7?
Oh, it was
and
a long time.
posted.
It was
Yeah.
a long time. It was a
So
long time.
that's good progress. Something else I want to raise with you that's very interesting is the online conversation of the Gen Z presidential candidates.
Wait. Baba,
Oh, we had
there's
okay.
something he said that is utterly unacceptable. I will not fight his Baba. I will not fight Baba, but I'll fight his utterances. When he said that we don't need a voters register, and hold it right there. That is a recipe for chaos, anarchy. It's a disaster. They are manufacturing a disaster of magnanimous proportions. Kenyans will fight that. You know, a voters register first puts your name there as Sarah Mwangi. Then it positions you as a Kenyan, then now takes you to a county where you vote. You vote in Nairobi County, for example. It takes the name Sarah Mwangi to Starehe constituency. Then it takes you to City Primary School. And then it takes you to stream number 4. So when you want to know if Sarah Mwangi voted, on the Kim's kit, it's supposed to read that Sarah Mwangi came and put her thumb here. And she voted at stream number 4. And therefore, there was a line crossed across her name. She cannot therefore vote again there. When you remove the voters register, it means that we are using our ID. And what does Fanya Mambo do? He votes in Dagoretti South. Bora nikuwe na pikipiki. I'll vote everywhere else I want because I am a voter and my name is appearing in no specific register. So how do you stop a person from coming into a polling station? How do you tell them that you're not supposed to vote here? It will be very easy to import people. Wanavote hapa, wanabebwa na malori, wanavote pale. Wanabebwa na malori, wanavote pale. And that's the plan they are having because they've lost this election. Kenyans, please musikubali your maneno. In the name of God, I don't care who you support or whom you do not support. I have always said I used to support Baba for a very long time. And I don't have a problem with him. I was just not able to support to transfer my support for him to William. I can't transfer. So what do? We are telling young people, this one we have to have a conversation about. And Kenyans are not ready to have a situation whereby there is an amorphous thing that tells you can vote anywhere. We want the voters register. We want it to continue to exist. We want to be able to know who votes here. Mimi na challenge wa Kenya sahi. Leo sahi, if you think I'm making noise, toka hapo nje. Go and look for these people who are selling coffee na ngomu. The bulk of them are not from Kenya. You know they are from Burundi, I'll say it. Enda mtumie sahi M-Pesa. Do you know they have a Kenyan ID now? And do you know, and I'm telling you, they have an M-Pesa number and it reads Kenyans' names. From some region I won't mention. Now, why do you want to allow that guy to come on the polling station? And because he's Burundian, you want to allow him to vote? That should, no, we can't. So, let this be very clear. That mambo ya voters register, hatutaki to have your conversation.
I mean, I think IEBC commissioners, we gave them a job the other day.
No, you know, that's how it starts, like a joke. So that joke has to die.
Okay,
Yes.
IEBC, you've had it right
That joke
from
has to
Fanya
die.
Mambo from the
That joke
beginning.
has to
First
die.
job, don't even try.
And we also said to IEBC, lest they forget, this time around, you have invested so many things in so many places. Sahi tumesema hivi, as you do your budget, weka budget ya camera. No camera, no elections. Hii upuzi ya kusijui mwezima stima, hakuna. This time round, we want a camera in every classroom. Na kama itakuwa ngumu, Kenyans waambiwe, wachange. They are ready. They have told me they are ready. Watachanga. Just a camera. In fact, the 700 who are voting in that classroom, hata kila mtu akitoa 200, we have a camera. So let's not have that conversation that there will be dark classrooms where votes are being counted. Kenyans have made it clear. Si mumesema mnataka kuishinda uchaguzi and that you are popular, everybody who thinks they are popular. Even me, where I'm vying for MP Dagoretti South. Nataka kuwe na camera so that if I win, I win honorably. If I lose, I lose honorably. But God will not allow me to lose. So We want a camera. Kwa hiyo budget mnafanya kamera kwa kila classroom. Hii sahii kuficha maneno hakuna, straight game.
Okay.
VAR kwa wale wanaonanga football.
Yeah.
Tutakuwa tunasema VAR kale ka box hivi hapo.
Okay.
Tunarudi hapo VAR.
Okay.
Kitu iki happen
Backflip.
VAR.
All right.
Yes.
That's actually a good investment if they can do that. There's a candidate who I can't ignore to speak about, former Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga. And now he's fundraising, and now Kenyans are condemning him that, wow, a whole Chief Justice only raises $500,000 in 3 days. And he says he can only afford 2 million for a presidential campaign. Why didn't you accumulate enough wealth to run for president? What do we want?
I wouldn't want to fight the person of Maraga, David. And I wouldn't want to pour water on his candidature. But there's one thing I would like to tell him. We lost Albert Ojwang. How much was raised? Close to 5 million.
It was actually 2 million.
2 million.
Yes.
Within a very short time. Why? Be a person whose cause is inspiring to Kenyans. That's all you need to be. When we said,
I think it's not.
When we said Kenyans for Kenyans, when people were dying in Northeastern, we raised a lot of money. Kenyans raised a lot of money for that cause. Why? They could connect, they could associate, they believed in that cause. I wish Justice Maraga, and my advice may not work for him, but I wish he had taken just a little time to fuel his cars and gone around the country to popularize himself and to endear himself to Kenyans before throwing in this pay bill.
But isn't it what he's doing now?
Kenyans put in their money where they believe. Let me tell you.
You don't trust him going around will make people believe.
You see, the thing is this. Maraga is still known to us as a former Chief Justice.
Yes.
He's not yet been known to us as a politician. Kenyans are looking for a very, very strong candidate who they think can topple William Ruto. That's what Kenyans are looking for. And so he needed to first show his assertiveness, his strength, his everything. I wish him well in his collection of money. After all, even him being president is better than what we have. So it's fine. We wish him well. But the day Kenyans will believe in his cause, they will give more money and they'll give it more quickly.
But do you want a politician or a good president?
Both. You see, a good president is a good president. But there comes a time when you need someone who can talk to people and convince them and talk to them. J.F. Kennedy, for example, was a good president because this was the time of the Cold War. And people needed a reassuring voice. Winston Churchill won most of his fights because of his oratory skills, more than the guns and the bullets and everything else. Most fights are won with conviction. If you can't create conviction in the hearts of people, you will never win anything. There's nothing as good as having an army of convicted people. They fight, bullets zikiisha, wanatengeneza majembe, they fight with everything because they have a conviction.
Was Mandela a politician or a good leader?
Mandela was actually a leader. But one thing he managed to was to also speak very well to people. He managed to make people believe in what he believed in. And that's why he got to where he did.
So your analysis of Maraga's presidency campaign or presidential campaign?
Is I wish him well. I wish him all the very best. Actually, I wish that somehow along the way, he'll stop being seen as a lone ranger and join the united opposition. I mean, I have said those people are not saints. I don't remember anywhere in the Bible, apart from Mary, the mother of God, who was said to be holy. She was a virgin. She was chosen because of her purity. Abraham was an worshipper of the moon. Moses was a stammerer and a murderer. God used very terrible human beings, if I was to say, to actually change the course of the history in the Bible, including the Paul who I was telling you was Saul. The bulk of them were not saints. So if Maraga is looking for saints so that he can work with them, that's not the problem. I think what he needs to do is ask himself, have these people gone through a Damascus moment? And do they now believe in what they are doing? Akina Simon Peter, they had their terrible histories. Akina Judas Iscariot, all of them, they had their terrible histories. None of them was a saint when Jesus was calling them.
Let me
Let's
just
say
throw it
this.
in.
My problem is Maraga is
No,
thinking
hold
that he
it.
wants to be clean.
No, hold it there. Let me switch, because I watched one of his interviews and he said he's been approached by some of these people from opposition. If today you support Rigathi and these other opposition leaders united and said that Maraga for president, how will that sit with you?
It's fine. It's fine. As long as, let me tell you, this united opposition needs one good candidate. And they have agreed on that. Everybody will chest thump and say they want to be president, but they will front one good candidate. It's the best and the surest way to beat William Ruto at the ballot. So if that best candidate is Martha Karua, fine. If it's Justice Maraga, fine. If it's Rigiji, fine. If it's Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, whoever we settle on, as long as we first slay this dragon.
Okay.
That is bad governance.
Very nice. That's a very fantastic place to end it. We must slay the dragon of bad governance.
Yes.
Any closing remarks to our viewers, listeners?
I think all I want to say is that there are many terrorists in this country, but we must aim our guns on the right terrorists. And the biggest terrorists that are destroying critical infrastructure, as government puts it, are those people who are stealing monies that were meant to run those critical infrastructure. And those are the people who are terrorists. Those are the people we need to arraign in court, and those are the people we need to shoot in the leg, and those are the people we need to shoot to kill, as Nelson Koech said. Those are the people we need to deal with as a country. Those are the economic terrorists. They are the saboteurs, the people who are making this nation impossible. The empowerment thing is ongoing. Nilisikia wanapanga kuja Dagoretti. And now we want to tell them that it's okay. People of Dagoretti said they are ready to receive the beans. After all, it's their taxpayers' money. But I wish I could tell them that sometimes instead of giving 100 tanks to people, you'll only help 100 families. The cost of giving 100 tanks, I did the multiplication and I did the cost of the pipe, would probably pipe water to 1,000 homes. I wish they were coming to launch water running through pipes. Like now we have a lot of water in that area. But they feel that they can brand the tank with their name, you remember, but they can't brand underground pipes. That's why they don't want to pipe water for us. So it's unfortunate, but it's Kenya Kwanza, wakule ujeuri yao.
It's unfortunate. All right. Thank you so much for coming through. It's been such a fantastic conversation we've had. I hope you, viewer, enjoyed and learned a thing or two. Share with us in the comments section what you think, and we will catch you on the next episode. And also maybe tell Fanya Mambo to keep the ball tie alive.
Oh, it looks nice
He's
on
doing
me.
good, yes.
Okay.
All right. See you on the
asante.
next episodes.
Thank you.